If you're thinking of making the move to Utah, then this video is the one video that you cannot miss. Today, I'm going to share not only the areas that exist along the Wasatch Front, but throughout the state of Utah, and I'm going to use maps to help show you the different areas and really educate you on what you need to know about these different areas if you yourself are considering making the move to Utah. And my ultimate goal is to make sure that you have a smooth and seamless move if you do end up making that move. And many people assume that moving to Utah is quite simple. They just assume that if you're moving to Utah, you're just moving to a beautiful place, and that's it. But honestly, there's so much more to it than that. In this video, I'm going to reveal the exact things that can either make or break your experience when relocating to Utah. We're talking about each and every area that you might want to consider living in, the vibe, the different community factors, the ability to fit in yourself, but also the lifestyle and so much more. And what I want to cover is the things that most people overlook, because ultimately you have to create a balance between what you expect when making the move here and the reality of doing so. And so here's what we're going to cover in this video. We're going to talk about and cover the major metropolitan areas and the areas where you might consider making the move. Next, we're going to talk about the essentials, the things you really need to know about each and every one of these areas, and make sure to help you understand what the different areas provide and how that balance between the urban, the suburban, and the rural environment here in Utah ties into the great outdoors. And then we're going to talk about practical steps that you're going to want to take to make that move, that transition, as smooth and realistic as possible. And it's my goal to make that process as stress-free as possible. And for that reason alone, I share these videos each and every single week. And so stay tuned, and by the end of this video, you'll have yourself a nice roadmap as to what you need to do in order to make that smooth move to Utah. Now let's start by taking a look at the map of the state of Utah. And really what it boils down to is we've got multiple regions within the state. And even though Utah is really a large state geographically speaking, it doesn't have that many areas where people actually live. And there's certain reasons for that. We have 5 metropolitan areas in the state of Utah, the largest of which is centered on the Wasatch Front up in northern Utah in the Salt Lake City metropolitan area. This particular metropolitan area has just over 1.25 million people, but it conjoins to 2 other metropolitan areas to the north in the Ogden metropolitan area, as well as to the south in the Provo metro area. All 3 of these metropolitan areas really honestly just boil down to being one linear metropolitan area that runs along the Wasatch Front on the western edge of the Rocky Mountains here that we call the Wasatch Mountains. And at the heart of these 3 major metropolitan areas is, of course, Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is the Beehive State's capital city, and of course, the place where people came when they first came to the state of Utah to settle this great state. And so as I'm talking about these different areas, I want to zoom in just a little bit on these different areas and just give you a little bit of description, as well as show you some footage of these areas if I can, just to try to paint a little bit of a picture for you. But ultimately, when we have a conversation, you and I, we can really boil it down to exactly what is going to work for you specifically. But it's my goal here to make sure that this visual representation, this video, is going to give you some clarity as to where you might want to consider making a move yourself. Okay, so in order to get started, we first have to understand the lay of the land and how that impacts your decisions. And as I've mentioned, along the Wasatch Front, this is where 2.5 million people reside. We only have 3.5 million people here in the state of Utah, and 2.5 million of those live right here along the Wasatch Front. And the other people that live throughout the state are scattered throughout the rural areas, as well as the other 2 metropolitan areas. Those are smaller metro areas, one being up north in Logan, and that is north of the Wasatch Front and north of Salt Lake City. A couple of hours, it's close to the Idaho border, and this is a bustling area. This is a valley full of smaller farm towns that have grown and grown and grown over recent years, the center of which is Logan. Logan is a college town. It's home to Utah State University, and it's these farming communities around Logan that are seeing the growth in Cache Valley, and this metropolitan area will continue to grow as the decades wear on. And last but not least, we don't want to leave out the other metropolitan area that happens to be one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in the entire country, and that's in the southwest corner of the state of Utah in Washington County, and that is the St. George metropolitan area. St. George offers a completely unique lifestyle. It offers a lifestyle more similar to that of Arizona or Las Vegas in terms of weather and palm trees and winter golfing and winter activities, as well as the really amazing outdoor opportunities that southern Utah provides, including 5 national parks. So St. George is its own little world. It's its own space within the state. And honestly, a lot of people that live along the Wasatch Front look forward to visiting St. George, especially in the winter months, months just to get away. And we call a lot of those people snowbirds that choose to retire and move to southern Utah because the weather is so appealing, especially in the winter. All right, so let's take a deeper dive now and start talking about the different areas, and let's zoom right into the first place we want to explore. Okay, first, let's talk about balancing the differences between urban living and suburban living. And let's focus on the two biggest counties in the state of Utah and the two biggest metropolitan areas in the Salt Lake City and the Provo-Orem metropolitan areas. These two areas in Salt Lake County and Utah County are where we can find the best balance between urban and suburban life. Salt Lake City is all about vibrant urban living, great for job opportunities, and shockingly enough, the nightlife is really on the upswing as well, but it can come with traffic, higher costs, and a much faster paced environment, just like any other major American city. Salt Lake City has been on the rise recently. When I say that on the rise, I'm really truly mean that. The number of residential living units in downtown Salt Lake City has more than doubled just in a handful of years. So living in downtown Salt Lake City is really something that is newer in terms of popularity, and we see mid-rise and high-rise buildings shooting up constantly in downtown Salt Lake City. The most notable of which is Utah's newest, tallest building, and that is the Astra Tower in downtown Salt Lake City that is offering more luxury living in downtown Salt Lake City. And look, on our map, you'll see how the city center contrasts with the quieter, more family-oriented neighborhoods in Utah County, as well as the suburbs down in the southern end of Salt Lake County. If you value proximity to work and cultural amenities, Salt Lake City might be the best place for you. For example, I live in Salt Lake County in South Jordan to the southwest of downtown Salt Lake City, and it provides and affords me the opportunity to easily hop into the city or go to the Salt Lake City International Airport or attend any event that I might want to within maybe 30 or 35 minutes. It also provides and affords me the opportunity to take advantage of everything that's happening in downtown Salt Lake City while still enjoying living in the suburban area just to the south. And similar to Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County up in the north, we can go down south to Provo, and Provo kind of offers a very similar environment, although not to the same scale. And Provo has a very different vibe than does Salt Lake City. Provo is kind of a completely different culture. It is more of a college town experience, with being the center of Brigham Young University, which of course is a religious university here in the state of Utah that is incredibly large. And that is a driving force, not only in the community in Provo, but also the different amenities and the different attractions and the things to do. So the urban environment in Provo is very different than that of Salt Lake City. But as you get outside of the center of Provo into the rest of Utah County, it can start looking more and more similar to that of the suburban areas of Salt Lake County. And the vast majority of the growth that's taken place in both of these metropolitan areas have kind of been close to the middle. In other words, the southern portion of Salt Lake County and the northern portion of Utah County. It's these areas in the southern portion of the Salt Lake City metropolitan area in South Jordan and Daybreak and Harriman and Draper and Bluffdale, as well as the northern portion of Utah County in American Fork and Lehigh, Saratoga Springs, and Eagle Mountain. These have been some of the hottest growth areas in the state of Utah for quite a few years now. And what I've noticed as a local Utahn, the vast majority of the people that have moved there are people that have moved there from out of state. So if you're looking to live in a place where you can really integrate with other like-minded people and have something in common, in other words, you find something in common with other people that have also transplanted and made a move to the state of Utah. And honestly, that's one of the best ways to find common ground and make new connections with new people. And I, for one, as a local Utahn, I love the synergy that comes with people that have made the move here and found a common home in my neighborhood, as well as so many others throughout the Wasatch Front. And matching your personal and professional needs with the right area is crucial. Use the map to consider commute times, local amenities, and even future development plans. And one of my favorite things to do with new people that are reaching out to me is to schedule a video call where I can share my screen with you and show this map to you and talk about the different nuances between these different areas and really dial in the areas that I feel like would be the best suited for you. So if that's you, reach out to me. You can find that link to book that call in the pinned comment on this and every video. Okay, let's move our focus to another region along the Wasatch Front, and let's go up north, up to the Ogden metropolitan area. Okay, as we move north up into Davis and Weber counties, just north of Salt Lake City, these are other really rapidly growing areas, especially along the western edge, starting in about Syracuse and going through West Haven and West Point, and all of those small towns just west of Ogden. These are areas that are growing incredibly fast, but also just north of Ogden in Pleasant View, as well as North Ogden itself. These are amazingly beautiful areas where we're seeing a lot of growth. And so if you're looking for this particular area along the Wasatch Front, the advantage that it provides is that it still provides easy access into Salt Lake City because of the recent infrastructure developments in terms of adding new freeways like the West Davis corridor, as well as the conversion of Highway 89 to give basically 3 arteries that extend from Ogden and the Ogden metropolitan area right down into Salt Lake City. And this has been a major development with the infrastructure in northern Utah that has drastically improved the quality of life in northern Utah, in Davis and Weber counties. And it is also sparking the growth of these areas tremendously. If you're looking to make the move to Utah and you want those newer communities, but you still want easy access into Salt Lake City, this could be the perfect place for you. And the icing on the cake is that these areas are more affordable than what you're going to find in Salt Lake County or even in Utah County. And typically, when you're comparing homes in northern Utah up in this region, apples to apples compared to homes down in Salt Lake or Utah counties, you're probably looking at about a 10 to 20% discount when you're comparing the same house in these two different areas. And for this reason, it's an incredibly popular area, and I'm constantly showing clients homes up in northern Utah in Davis and Weber counties. All right, next up, let's talk about resort style living. Now, that really is in southern Utah in the St. George metropolitan area. But before I talk about that area, let's talk about the highest visited and tourist centric area in the state of Utah, and that's Park City. Now, I've created recent videos about what we call the Wasatch Back, the area just east of the Wasatch Mountains, in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, just east of Salt Lake City. These areas include towns like Huntsville, as well as Park City, Heber City, and so many other smaller towns. These areas are seeing exponential growth. In fact, I've created recent videos where I've highlighted that growth, and these areas are going to be changing tremendously in coming years. And my favorite thing about living in these mountainous areas just on the eastern side of the mountains is it really truly does provide a completely unique lifestyle. It is so appealing to so many. And of course, some of those areas are incredibly expensive, but there are some really cool spots as well that are more affordable. But let's now move on back down to southern Utah and talk a little bit more about St. George. St. George and its surrounding areas are known for stunning natural beauty and proximity to national parks and a laid-back resort-like atmosphere. Ideal for retirees or those seeking a relaxed pace. It really truly does provide a completely different lifestyle than living along the Wasatch Front. And as I zoom into a map of the St. George region, you're going to notice there's just not a lot of major freeways. There's one major freeway in I-15 cutting through the middle of St. George, but it's really just a small city surrounded by so many different bluffs and mountains. And these things are really providing different ways for different developments to take place and take hold in all of the different areas surrounding St. George. And these areas extend all the way down to the Utah-Arizona border in a community that we call Desert Color. This is one of the biggest developments in the state of Utah that's kind of parallel to that big community up here in Salt Lake County in Daybreak. It's one of those large master planned communities where everything has been thought out really well, and that sits right along the Arizona border. And look, while the maps help, while the photos and the video footage really does help, what really helps is making sure that you match your lifestyle and your expectations with the different areas that you're considering to make sure that you enjoy this new place that you're going to call home. And I truly believe that it's everyday living. It's where you're going to go shopping. It's where you're going to go experience life. It's where you're going to do the daily routine in the area where you live. And so those things are truly important. And we want to make sure that we talk about every one of those depending on your unique situation. And while these videos can be really helpful, as well as the footage and the photos and sharing all of this valuable information, there's one thing in particular that we do that ensures a smooth move to Utah. We're going to talk about that next. Okay, we're talking about a smooth move. Before you make any move, you want to make sure that you do your homework. This is the number one thing that's going to help you make that move to Utah or anywhere else for that matter. You're going to want to research the different neighborhoods. You're going to want to talk to people that know what they're talking about with respect to all of the things that are going to be nuances within your day-to-day life in that particular area. And in my opinion, I think one of the most valuable things you can do, besides booking a video call with me where I can share my screen with you and we can talk about the different areas specifically specifically, the best thing you could do is plan a visit and come visit yourself so that we can drive together and go tour the different areas, tour the different neighborhoods, talk about all of the different points of interest, the day-to-day life amenities, as well as the things that you really need to know in terms of the pros and cons of each and every different area. And to be honest with you, many of you that are watching have already gone on this test drive with me. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love talking about my home state of Utah, and I love giving people that tour and that piece of information that's going to help them make that move here as well. So if you're watching and you've gone on those tours with me, drop a comment below so that other people can gain a little bit of understanding as to what that is like. And look, I like to use so many resources like local community forums, property websites, and yes, these maps that we're sharing right here in these videos to get real-time insights on things like school ratings, commute times, future development projects, and I love keeping my hand on the pulse of everything that's happening in the state of Utah. I track everything. I watch all of the building permits for the different projects and developments that are happening. I know all of the new construction developments that are coming, including the biggest developments that are happening in the state of Utah, but not only that, the smaller ones as well. And the question is, why do I do all of that? Well, this is my business. This is what I know. This is what I love to share. It's all things Utah and all of the things that are coming because honestly, a lot of people that make the move here are looking for newer developments because that's where they're probably going to find other people that might look just a little bit like them in terms of they've moved here from out of state as well. And honestly, it's one of my favorite things to do is to connect with people that are making the move here and make sure that they find the perfect place for them. And it's all of these proactive steps that we take as you reach out to me and we make sure that we do that video call and we plan that visit and do these things proactively. These are the things that are going to help you make that move. But more importantly, it's going to help you avoid the biggest pitfalls that people fall into when they make the move without the proper advice. And the bottom line is, it's not just about advice, it's about being your guide. And you've got to make sure that when you move here, you don't just fall in love with the natural beauty. You've got to make sure that your new home, your new neighborhood and community works for you on the day-to-day level of reality. And to recap, relocating to Utah is not all about the natural beauty and the scenery. It's about aligning your personal lifestyle and your goals and your future plans with the area where you're going to land. And today in this video, we've talked a little bit about Salt Lake City and Ogden and Provo, St. George and Logan. We've talked about the different areas where people choose to make home here in the state of Utah, but there's so much more to dive into. And look, your move to Utah can be smooth and exciting and everything in between, so long as you plan it out and do it correctly. And I truly hope that this video, as well as all of the other videos that I create on my channel here, really do serve you and resonate with you and provide value for what you're looking for in terms of your specific questions. And so if you found value in this video, I would love it if you would like this video and please subscribe to the channel if this is helpful for you. It really does help me get in front of more people just like you to serve you and make sure that I'm educating you and helping you along the way to make that smooth move. And honestly, it's been so fun to see more and more people subscribe to the channel and make sure that they're reaching out to me both in the comments as well as personally. You can find my contact information in the description below. My team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. Let's get started, reach out to us, or book a call with us in the link that you're going to find in the pinned comment on this and every video, and let's have this conversation and get you started. Whether you're making the move to Utah in a couple of months or even a couple of years, let's get in touch. And if you're looking to learn more about life in Utah, check out this playlist next. And until the next video, thanks.